First thing I want to say is just thank you guys. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Jennifer, thank you for inviting me. And just honored to just be here and just to share a couple words with you all. But before I do that, I would just like to pray. So we can just bow our heads and close our eyes. Lord, we just thank you for this opportunity today, Lord God. We thank you for the Monster Education Foundation. We thank you, Lord God, for this wonderful meal and this time of fellowship. And congratulations to the participants. Lord, I just ask that I decrease, that you may increase, Lord God, and that you will just give me a word, Lord, that can penetrate the hearts of the people that are here in this place. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. So, I know I told Jennifer that, I was going to come out of Joshua and be strong and courageous, but something else was on my heart today. So, what I'm going to talk about is Matthew 23, 11, and 12. It says, "The greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." And why this stuck out to me is because most of my life, I wanted to be exalted. And it came a point in time where I had to be humbled. And in that humbleness, I realized where my purpose, where my passion, and what I was designed to do on this earth. So with that, I just want to give you some background stories about my life and some stories that really changed the trajectory of my life. So, I grew up with not the best, circumstances or cards dealt with. First thing, I had a father who spent time in prison. My second thing, at the age of 5, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. And I was in special education classes from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. So I lived in a single parent household, a 2-bedroom apartment, a lot of times with my brother, my sister, and a cousin or 2 cousins living with us. But in spite of those things, I was able to, by the time I was in 8th grade, test out of special education classes. I was able to graduate high school with a 3.2 GPA and a scholarship to play football at the University of Illinois. I was able to accomplish my goal of playing in the NFL, and I was able to teach and be a part of what I feel is my baby, the Male Mogul Initiative, which seeks to positively transform the way young men live and lead in their communities through leadership and entrepreneurship development. So, in life, and what I want to give you guys today is the 3 keys to achieving great things. So the first thing, in order to achieve great things, you have to make decisions. I remember, how many of you guys are freshmen or sophomores in here? 8th grade freshmen and sophomores. So, 8th grade year, 14 years old, I made the most important decision I ever made in my life. My 8th grade basketball coach and my dean, Mr. Masterson at Lincoln Junior High School, called me into his office 2 weeks before 8th grade graduation. He sat me down and he said, "Walter, you have all the potential in the world, but your friends are going to be your downfall." And at that age, it went through one ear and out the other. 8th grade passed, we graduated, and that summer, my 2 friends decided to join a gang. And I was on the verge whether I was going to join that gang or not that whole summer. In August, any football players in here? Any football players? Nobody plays football? Okay, 1 football player. So, in August, there's this thing before school starts. It's called training camp. A lot of times, it's before school starts. You play, you practice. It's basically like Hell Week, where it's hot outside. You got to go through 2 or 3 practices at a time. It's really tired and exhausting, and it really separates the men from the boys. So, my friends decided to join the football team with me. And after the second day, between the first and the second practice, they said, "Walter, man, let's get back, let's get out of here. Let's basically go back, to our neighborhood and basically talk to girls and do drugs." And at the age of 14, I made the most important decision that I ever made in my life. I stayed and they left. And fast forward, 4 years later, that 8th grade lunch table, it was 8 of us. Only 2 of us stayed in high school all 4 years and graduated, and I was the only one that went to college. Imagine if I would have made a different decision on that day, what would have happened to me? I wouldn't have been here. I probably would have been locked up. I probably could have been in, dead. I probably wouldn't been able to go to college. I would have probably been the football player or accomplished my dreams and goals that I wanted to do. So what I'm telling you guys today, that the decisions that you make are going to determine where you are when you're 18, when you're 19, when you're 20, when you're 25, and when you're 30. A lot of the times, I say to my students, you are a sum total of the decisions that you have made in life. So you decided to join Monster Education. You decided to get good grades. You decided to serve. And now you are going to reap the benefits of those good decisions in due time. So what I am telling you guys is today that the decisions that you make are vital. These are the times where the decisions that you're making right now is going to determine the type of person you're going to be and the type of life that you're going to have. And for my adults here, the decisions that we make not only affect us, it affects our families. So we always have to be conscious on not only ourselves, but those that we are taking care of, and also those that we don't take care of, because it is up to us to leave this generation better, or this life, or this society better than when we had it. All right? So the second thing for you guys is hard work. So after freshman year, I had a great freshman football season, and a coach came up to me and said, "Walter, you have a great shot on playing football in college." At that time, I didn't have a desire to play football in college. I really didn't have any dreams or aspirations or goals in life. But that coach and what he said to me actually gave me a goal or something to achieve. And at that time, this high school that I went to wasn't particularly known for being a great sports program. And it was really only one other person that had an opportunity to play college football that was being recruited. So I went up to that guy. He was a junior at the time. He said, "What is it that I need to do in order to be a Division I athlete?" So my school started at 7:30 in the morning. At 5:45, or actually 5:30, I would wake up. 5:45, he would come pick me up. 6 o'clock, we would get to the high school. From 6 to 7, we would work out. From 7 to 7:30, I would take a cold shower in the locker room, because our locker rooms didn't have hot water and there were mice running around. And I did that every day for about 4 years while playing 3 sports. And I realized in order to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, you have to put in the work. Not only on the field, but in the classroom. I realized that in order to be a Division I athlete, I had to go to college. So I had to get a certain GPA. I had to get a certain score on the ACT and SAT. And I wasn't necessarily the best student, but I was the most consistent student. I always did my homework. I might not have tested well, but I always asked for help when I needed it, and I always made sure my homework was done. And that enabled me to get to where I wanted to get to. And what I'm telling you guys here today, a lot of times, especially with the younger generation, it's this thing called instant gratification. You want it right then and now, and you don't want to work for it. And that's not how life is. So you either going to have a dream and it's up here, and your work ethic has to match that dream. Or if you don't want to work that hard, make sure your dream matches your work ethic. All right? It's either or. If you want to aim for the stars, you're going to have to work for it. If you just want to be an average, regular person, you just, you got to take that dream down. Because nothing great comes easy. Nothing great comes easy in life. So junior year, nobody knew who I was. By the time I was a senior, I was the #1 running back in the state of Illinois. And I wish I could tell you that, everything went right and I made all the great decisions and I had this great career, but it really was not the case. And my last thing I want to talk to you guys is faith. All right? So, while I was at the University of Illinois, I really wasn't getting the playing time or the how can I say this? The recognition that I felt I deserved. And a lot of times football was an idol in my life. So what I mean by an idol, I held football above my family. I held football above, God. It was number one priority in my life. And at that time, I wasn't getting that playing time. I wasn't getting what I felt I deserved. And I fell into a very, very, very deep depression. And it got so bad one night. I was laying in my bed and I was contemplating taking my life. And as I laid, I said, God, if you're really real right now, I need to know, because I don't know if I'm going to make it till the next day. That's when I felt the presence of God come in, as a mom would hold a newborn baby. And I had the most peaceful sleep that I ever had in my life. And after that day, even though my circumstances didn't change, my attitude towards those circumstances changed. And that's when I knew I was here for a bigger purpose than just to play football. And what I'm telling you guys here today, a lot of times we put our self-worth in what we do. And that's not how we should go about things. It is who we are and what our purpose is. It's not that I played football was not my purpose in life. It was just a stepping stone to get me where I needed to go. So, I ended up transferring, had a good season, and I actually was able to accomplish my goal of playing in the NFL. So when I got to the NFL, that all my dreams, my problems, that everything would be, all those things would be erased. But that wasn't the case. When I was there, I still had that anxiety, I still had fear, I still had doubts, and I kept bouncing around from team to team. So I started with the Eagles, ended up getting cut, was with the Indianapolis Colts, made it all the way to final cuts. And even though I outperformed the guy that they kept, somehow, they was paying them more than he was paying me. So they cut me. Went with the Bills, ended up not working out. And then I was with the Cincinnati Bengals and had a great camp. The coach came up to me and said, Walter, you have a great opportunity on making the team. 2 hours later, I get a call telling you to hand in your playbook. As I'm driving back to Chicago, I'm kind of having it out with God. I'm saying, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm reading my Bible. I'm doing all these things, but I feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick. And there was a voice that I heard, and it said, greater things than this that I have for you to do. Greater things than this that I have for you to do. At that time, in 2010, I had no idea what that meant. But fast forward 8 years later, I was able to get my master's degree. I was able to become a teacher and a coach and a mentor to a lot of young men like Keandre, who witnessed his mother kill his brother and was in DCFS and on the verge of dropping out of Proviso East High School. Had a chance to mentor Keandre, to bring Keandre to faith. And now Keandre has a football scholarship at Oliver Nazarene and will be a junior and is on track to complete his college degree. Young men like Shaman McCoy from Chicago Avenue and Cicero dropped out of 8th grade, or not dropped out of 8th grade, failed 8th grade. Had a chance to mentor Shaman. By the time he was a junior, he had a 3.5 GPA. And me and my wife was able to take him to Stanford University. Even though he did not go to Stanford University, he had an academic and football scholarship to play at a D3 school in Wisconsin. Guys like Cameron Williams, who goes to Roe Clark High School, when he came into my program, didn't have a lot of confidence speaking in public. or talking to people or interacting was in special education classes. And when I shared my story and began to mentor him and he came to our program, he actually tested out of special ed. He didn't know you could do it until he heard somebody do it. And then he's like, okay, if you can do it, then I can do it. Now he's a junior in regular classes, and last summer went to a Summer of a Lifetime tour and was able to stay at DePaul University and study computer engineering. So, what I found is that in serving, I found my peace, I found my joy, I found my why. I get up in the morning. I feel that I'm doing what God has called me to do. And a lot of times that's in service. I found that, or how can I say this? I realized the difference between a dream and a goal. A goal is something that you do for yourself. It's personal. I had the goal of playing football. I had the goal of, being on the honor roll. And things with goals is once you accomplish those goals, it's kind of like, yeah, I accomplished the goal, but I'm not fulfilled. There's something missing. I don't know what it is. But a dream is something that you do for the good of others. And I realized in the Male Mogul Initiative, I am living out my dream of helping young men take their ideas and make them into valuable money-making businesses and teaching them leadership skills in order to become not only successful entrepreneurs, but successful men, successful fathers, successful citizens that can transform and change their communities. This summer, or last year, I had a group of 15 young men from my Male Mogul Initiative class. They wanted to change the narrative of how young men were viewed in the Austin community on the west side of Chicago. They came up with a t-shirt business called Young Heroes. They came up with shirts that called themselves Heroes in the Hood. They went around picking up garbage, mentoring young people, being positive role models in their community. They ended up going to Northwestern and winning a business pitch competition. So they realized how their ideas can take them places that they never thought they would be and expose them to different opportunities that they never thought they would have. And this is what I love about Monster Education. They're doing the same thing. They're teaching you the most valuable skill that you can ever have is the ability to serve others. And in serving others, you will find your purpose. In serving others, you will find that peace and that joy that's not come with when you exalt yourself. Because when you exalt yourself, it's never enough. No matter what level I reached, no matter how many yards I ran for, no matter how many touchdowns I scored, it was never enough. I still was something missing inside. And what I realized is that, how can I say this in a way? What I realized is that it is better to give and to serve than it is to get. And that is what Monster Education is teaching these young people. In a generation in which it's all about me and what I can get, Monster Education is helping you to serve and to look for others and to realize that it's about others as opposed to ourselves, because serving others, you will get all the things that you want. I made a lot more money doing what I'm doing now than I ever did running a football. I have a lot more opportunities. I was in South Dakota. I never knew what I was doing on the west side of Chicago and the south side of Chicago. People from South Dakota would ask me to come there and to speak and to teach about leadership and being a positive change in your community. So it transcends. When you serve, it transcends not only your neighborhood, but the world. And Monster Education is a microcosm of that, because it's people from different communities, different races, people who historically don't really interact with each other except if it's business transactions, coming together and positively transforming not only the inner city communities, but also the suburban communities. And that's why I love Monster Education. And that's why it's important to give and to support, because this brings about exposure. This brings about opportunity. This brings about networks that some people never thought they would have. And in life, a lot of times, there's two things. There's obstacles and there's equalizers. There's obstacles. Special education student, father in prison, didn't have a lot of money growing up. Then there's equalizers, mentors, coaches, teachers, church. These things that no matter how bad things are, there are people that are willing to help. So with that, Monster Education was founded on service. Monster is instilling the most important principle that anyone could ever learn, and that's how to be a servant. Instilling the principle in a time in which instant gratification and taking the easy way out is more accessible than ever, youth are doing true kingdom work by going into communities outside their comfort zones, engaging others, and making a positive change for the glory of God. When we serve, we are freeing ourselves from self-absorption. In serving, you find your true purpose and joy. Monster Education is empowering youth to be servant leaders. And not only to receive, but to give. And it's our obligation as adults to support this. And with that, I thank you for your time. Jennifer said I only had 15 minutes, so I want to honor that time. And thank you for your listening to me. Thank you for your attention, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.